Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today I'm going to continue my tier list videos. So if you haven't seen it yet, my previous one I put up, I believe yesterday, was the top 5 tanks in DFFOO as of October 2023. Today we're going to do the same video, but we're going to look at DPS units, right? And of course I've got a bunch of honorable mentions. DPS I feel like is a little bit muddier, where I feel like there are probably going to be people that maybe disagree with me more than maybe. I feel like the tank list is a little bit more cut and dry, but DPS has a lot more competition, and I know players will really like latch on to certain characters and use them more than others. And I think with DPS characters, like I think there's a lot of characters that are more close, and there are a lot of ways you can make any character look better, right? So some things we have to consider. So just a couple of disclaimers when we talk about how am I determining the best DPS list. I am going to try to focus more on characters that deal the best on turn damage. So what I mean is when I'm looking at top DPS characters, I'm saying which characters do I want to set up a bunch of force percentage and then go into their burst phase, and then who's going to go into a burst phase and absolutely blow up a fight with 500 million plus damage. That's what I'm looking at a DPS. So I'm going to say right away, even though characters like Cater, Kelger, tanks like off turn, like I know that those characters can compete for damage, but for this DPS list I'm gonna consider it more like who's doing the highest on turn damage, maybe like in a burst phase, just to give like a definition, even though there are other characters that can maybe do as much damage over time. All right, so with that out of the way, we got to jump into a bunch of honorable mentions. So I'm going to start off with just like Tifa and Vaughn. I think it's kind of crazy because Tifa has been like top of the meta for single target DPS for so long. And after using her just recently, I do feel like she's finally started to fall off, where there's just enough power creep in terms of DPS that Tifa would not be like my number one go-to DPS character anymore. And she's fallen off enough that I'm not even putting her in my top 5. That's how crazy like the damage is right now. And then Vaughn I wanted to mention because I think Vaughn is a little bit closer to Tifa than like Tifa is to like the current top tier damage dealers. That's kind of the way. But Vaughn is just another example of like a really good single target damage dealer. But I think Age has just finally gotten to these two a little bit. Okay. Another one I want to throw out is Lightning. Now, Lightning is a character where I didn't put her in my top 5 because I don't think her damage is top 5. But she's a character that's a bit deceiving in her damage because she's a character that you're not going to see the highest numbers in a singular attack, but she steals a lot of free turns and she acts a lot. And so I feel like Tifa is a character, or not Tifa, Lightning is a character that like per turn damage can actually get kind of up there. And I think Lightning, it's notable now that we're in Retain era, she works much better because Lightning is a character that previously, if you're not doing like top tier damage per attack, you wouldn't want to do them because you're not maximizing your force time. Well, now with Retain, I think a character like Lightning does actually look a bit better because she can just keep stealing turns, do a bunch of attack, and even at 400 to 500% if you're in a Retain, that's really good damage, and Lightning can really burn through a fight without like letting the enemies have turns. So I do think that she was just 100 million% worth mentioning here. So I just wanted to kind of throw her out as an honorable mention character. But I'm not putting her in my top 5 because I feel like in a burst phase, per damage, like per actual attack, she doesn't compete, right? But I think over time, like if you look at per turn damage, I think she is up there. Fujin I need to mention because Fujin herself I don't think is a top tier. I mean, she does put up pretty good damage actually, but a lot of like her damage, it comes through her launch mechanic. But I needed to mention her because I do think if you did want to operate Fujin alone as a damage dealer, she's still going to do good damage. But she's the key to enabling some of the other top tier damage dealers that are in my top 5. So I needed to just mention her because she's an important piece that makes some damage dealers their best. And I think she herself can put up competitive damage. So I wanted to mention her. Strago, I wanted to throw out. He's kind of like a placeholder just to talk about. In general, characters like Strago, Twins, Squall, in 3 target fights they can get there. These are kind of like AoE specialist type characters. They don't make my top 5, and you guys know that I've watched my channels. I hate characters like this that like really thrive on AoE damage, especially when you kind of want 3 targets because there just aren't enough 3 target fights in the game. So I thought Strago is worth mentioning because in a 3 target fight, or characters like him, like the Twins, they can put up some nasty damage in a 3 target fight. It's just we don't have enough of them for them to be relevant, right? Noel, just another really good standard DPS character. Just wanted to throw him out. Some of these are just characters I know if I don't throw out, people are gonna like yell at me. But yeah, Noel's got really nice damage, so we'll throw him out. He's kind of similar to Lightning in that he's like a break specialist, steals turns, and I think per turn he can actually do a lot, kind of like Lightning. So I'd throw him kind of in that same vein. Reigns we need to throw out. And the reason why we throw Reigns into the mix here, he didn't make my top 5, just because I think there are other characters doing a bit more damage. Reigns is a character, though, that was kind of starting to age a little bit, but Fujin really brings him back into relevancy. And I think because of Fujin, Reigns, I think, is in the discussion for, like, at least maybe a top 10 damage dealer in the game. I think Reigns could be in that discussion because of Fujin, right? So have to throw my boy Reigns out there. He's a very good character. Sephiroth, just in general, does good damage, right? Like, that's just kind of what Sephiroth is. He's got many HP dumps on all of his attacks. I think Sephiroth just, what else can I say, but he does really good damage. It's just, I think there are characters that can do more than him, and that's all it is. It's as simple as that. Damage has been power cut, but he's definitely a top 10, I would say. I just want to make sure I don't go too far here. Okay, now here's the part where I really struggled. So we're about to hit my top 5. I feel like 1 through 4, I feel very confident in my choices. 5 and 6, I was really struggling. So don't get mad at me if you think Vice is top 5. I think 5 and 6 are very close. Now, so we'll kind of start the official tier list at this point, because I think Vice is close enough to 5 that he's like definitely in that discussion. So Vice is crazy because of all of the true HP damage enabling he does. And while he himself, maybe on turn per attack, doesn't do as much as other characters, remember Vice gets extra additional like preemptive strikes, or it's preemptive or follow-up. It's off-turn damage, right? He gets extra off-turn damage. So if you do take Vice in as the damage dealer with all of his off-turn and maybe combo with the Fujin or other off-turn, he's in that 500 mil club, I think. So he's very, very good. And the reason why I rank Vice so high is even if he's not the main damage dealer, he's the key to enabling damage in other characters. So I think Vice just needs to be very high on the list. Once again, I was really struggling over the 5th slot. So who did I pick for slot 5? And you're going to see a lot of bias here, but trust me, if you use this guy, you'll realize I think he's maybe a little underrated. But number 5, I've got my boy Locke here. And yeah, I'm hugely biased because Final Fantasy VI fan over here. Locke is one of my favorite characters. But I really don't let my Final Fantasy VI bias sway my judgment, I feel like. Because I've openly admitted that Terra is not good. And I didn't even talk about Terra in honorable mention, right? Like, her damage just isn't there. And I like Terra as a character more than Locke. So I'm definitely not letting Final Fantasy VI bias. And I'm always, where is he? I'm always talking down this guy. Like, I just do not like this guy. And he's also FF6, right? So we'll put that out there. But Locke genuinely impressed me. And I think I admitted this when he was coming out. Even I undersold him a little bit. Because when you actually use him, you use his Genji Master Scroll, dude. Not many characters have an attack with 16 dumps on it, okay? Other than a character that's going to be above him on this list. But dude, 16 dumps. And I knew that that was going to be impressive. But I didn't realize how consistently you can hit that 16 dumps. Locke is a character, you go into his own burst phase and he puts up crazy damage. I think Locke is actually a top 5 in the state of the game right now, which is kind of crazy. I think this is the one where maybe a lot of people, I might get a little bit of knockback on this, or people might disagree with me here. But I'm telling you all, Locke is very powerful as a damage dealer. Then top 4 here, I actually feel very good about this. You all may still disagree with me. But here's my number 4 DPS in the game as of October 2023. I've got Anna Crow. Anna Crow, you get that Omega God rolling. I mean, it's just big Unga Bunga damage. That's the best way to describe Anna Crow. Big Unga Bunga damage. And I'm not talking about, when I'm doing this top DPS list, I'm not going to take into consideration, like, do they force charge? Do they heal? Do they support? Like, I'm looking at, do they do their role the best, right? I'm trying to keep this very strict. And in terms of damage, Anna Crow, I feel like, is top 4, right? She's crazy. Omega God amplifying all the stats just makes incredible things happen with Anna Crow. You throw that Kate Sith call down on her, and the damage is exploding. So yeah, Anna Crow is up there. She's a character that is hitting 60, 70, 80 mil shots in a hit. If you do that, you deserve to be top 5, I feel like. Number 3, Aranea. Now, so Aranea, this is the way you want to think of her. She's pretty much like the upgrade to Reigns. And the big difference between them is she just got her rework later than Reigns. Thusly, her damage is better than Reigns. And once again, Fujin is kind of the key to bringing out the best in Aranea. But if you're running a Fujin Aranea squad, her damage is incredibly top tier. She helps Fujin's gauge tick very quickly. And with that insane wall damage effect of Fujin, Aranea is up there and putting up insane damage. The only reason I wouldn't rank Aranea higher is that without Fujin, her damage dips significantly. So Aranea is kind of contingent on running Fujin to really put her at her best, but I think Aranea is very, very top tier right now. And then number 2, we've got Kadj. And you guys know I just talked about him recently. We just did a damage test on my boy Kadj. Dude, with his follow-ups, he's putting up, I think, if you count his actual attack plus his follow-up plus with his BT his follow-up happens again. It's kind of weird because they calculate his attack with one follow-up and then the second one comes in after, so you don't see the whole number as one chunk. But if he does his LD, right, his LD is 9 dumps, follow-up is 6 dumps, and he gets another one for 6, so we're looking at what, like 21 dumps, right? So like out of any character in the game, I think 21 dumps is the most I've seen on a singular attack. Now, obviously, if you add Vice in there, if you count Vice's dumps on that, then you're going. But in terms of the character themselves providing the HP dumps to themselves, Kadj, I think, has the single most dumps in an attack, which is crazy. And the other thing with Kadj is you could pair him with another character, right? So if I pair him with Locke and his off turn is going, well, then Locke attacks for 16 dumps, and then we get Kadaj's 6 with it, then Locke is now enabled for 22 dumps. So it's kind of crazy, but Kadaj can enable that for himself, and that's why I would rank him higher than, say, Locke. But he does help enable damage to other characters. So Kadaj here, definitely top tier on the damage discussion. And y'all already know what number 1 is. It's not even a surprise. It's still Astos. Astos literally can put up 125 mil single target on a shot, 100 mil plus consistently on AoE targets, depending on if you have him properly set up. It's just abusing his dark matter over his overhead. Because it scales on that, it operates differently. It makes Astos a different type of beast. You just got to focus on Max Brave with this guy, support him properly, and he's blowing up the game. And I don't think anyone's going to disagree with Astos at number 1. I think, once again, until Rufus shows up, who kind of recently came to JP, I don't think this guy is in the discussion for anything but number 1 for a very long time. So anyways, guys, let's recap here. Number 1, I have Astos. Number 2, Kadaj. Number 3, Aranea. Number 4, Anna Crow. Number 5, Locke. This might be the most controversial one, but I think he's there. And I think Vice is right there as well. We got to throw him out. And then all my honorable mentions as well. So anyways, guys, let me know if you agree or disagree with this list. Let me know if you're liking this series, if you want to see more of this in the future. If you guys all like this, I probably will do this maybe every 3 to 4 months. I can't do this often because... And a lot of times, if I do it too close together, it's just going to be the same list over and over again. So I want to wait enough time for the meta to shift before I do these lists again. So anyways, let me know what you all think. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you all on the next one.